in my head, I picture them super old.
Okay.
Like they're like, he's like super old. He's like 80s, 90s or something like that. And he's called back. Just the idea, there's always that movie, they're like one last ride, but usually the guy's like, I don't know, like 40, but he's like 90 years old and they're like, we need you, your country
There are
needs
very
you.
few actors that can pull this off, so I feel like Clint Eastwood is probably the only one.
Hello and welcome to StoryFellas, the podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
Good evening, Zach.
Good evening, Tommy.
I can barely see you because you're wearing camo.
I know. Camo and an orange cap. I just came wabbit hunting.
Well, it's wabbit season.
Yeah.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm all right. This week has been brutal, dude.
Brutal?
Brutal.
How so? Just busy work? Busy life?
Busy, man. I got all the irons in the fire and they just all seem to want to hit me at the same time. They're all popping
out saying, I'm ready.
Time. Yep.
Papa Zach, I'm ready. Take me out of the fire.
Yep. My back burner's just as hot as my front burner,
All the burners.
All my burners,
heat.
man. So we'll get texts randomly throughout the day about different projects from different groups of people. And I'm surprised I don't cross the streams and accidentally, do different things. But what about you, man? Enough about me. You ask me all the time.
Fine. About me, it's kind of similar. It's just kind of a tiring week. We're this secret peek for the audience. We're near launching StoryFellas.
That's right.
So it's going to be real. It's going to be in your ears soon. It's requiring a lot of last minute pushes to get it over the line.
Yeah, a little BTS. Launching a podcast that's hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of front work, getting everything situated, getting your branding. I know we're just two guys just joking around, but you still want some consistent branding. You want to see the artwork is consistent so you can know what to click.
Yeah,
and
you won't listen to us. You won't trust us if the artwork is not the same.
If the artwork's different, you'll be like, who are these guys? Illuminati? I don't trust this.
These guys are losers. Look at them. They don't even know branding.
They don't even know branding. They don't know any branding. I'm not listening to this. But anyway, that's taking a lot of my time. I've got some other projects on the back burner. Work is semi-busy season. It's busy. There's some projects coming up on the horizon that are going to be busy, and I'm eager to get to the other side of those. Yeah. I think they'll be good. It's just a lot of pre-production is going into making those happen. So, yeah. But hey, can't complain, man. Can't complain.
Well, you just did. So.
Oh, I did. Oh, man. Don't tell anyone.
Just delete yourself, dude.
Just delete my control. All
right, guys. I'm the only story fellow left. So we're going to be talking about kaiju and like dudes that don't want to be dudes. And I'm trying to think of my other tropes I have here. Let me see. Shuffle paper sound effect.
I pulled myself out of the recycle bin. I'm back.
You saved them. You saved the listener.
I've
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
Oh, what do you got? What do you got today?
It's a Negroni.
We were talking before we started recording that I am not a big Negroni fan. I don't like the sweet and bitter balance of it, which I don't know. Maybe I've just had some bad ones. Maybe they're actually a lot better.
That's true. That's true.
One.
You might have had a bad one. My wife made this one for me, so it's very good.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I've just got some lemon water. That's not true. I'm lying. That's not what this is at all. It's just lime juice and sparkling water. Nothing fancy. Just some hydration.
Tommy's on the wagon.
I guess. Hold on. On the wagon's the good thing, right?
Oh yeah. You did
the wagon sobriety.
Yes, the sobriety wagon. You are on it, my guy.
So on the wagon.
Am off the wagon.
It's all right, man. You gotta keep it funny, keep it loose.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna kill myself for this show. my liver. You guys, I'm going to make this show so good and these stories so good for you. And, it just requires a certain level of blood alcohol content to do that.
Speaking of stories, I do believe we are rolling on your board today.
You're rolling on my board, and hopefully the audience isn't bored. Let's see. You have the option of 3 different buckets here. And
okay.
I would say you can roll a 12-sided die.
A 12-sided die. Let me prepare my die.
Cue sound effect.
All right, you ready for it?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go high. It's gonna be a 12. I'm telling you.
Come on.
No, it's a 2.
Oh really?
It is a 2. Yeah.
Okay. So you rolled for my genre bucket. I just chose the bucket. There was 3 of them. I didn't say which one you were rolling for, but
all right.
So we have adventure as our genre.
All right. So starring The Rock.
Yeah, we should add some qualifiers like that, where it's like you have to have a character that has like this type of arc. That could be kind of fun.
Yeah, that could.
Food for thought. Food for thought.
I've got a board somewhere of qualifiers of random things that need to be adhered to. So I could always dip into that at some point.
Yeah. Well, I want you to roll one more time.
All right, 12 again.
No, let's go with an 8-sided die.
An 8-sided, making me change things up. All right, here comes the 8-sided die. It is an 8.
Whoa. Oh, it's your lucky day.
Do I win?
You win. So this is a scrap from my scrap bucket. A woman finds a pen gun in her attic.
A what gun?
A pen gun. So
a pen gun.
Yeah, so like a gun that's like a pen, like you write with a pen.
Oh, like it looks like a pen, but when you click it, it shoots a bullet?
Yeah.
Oh.
And funny story behind this, that actually happened to my great-grandma.
What do you mean it happened to your great-grandma?
That actually happened. She found some pen in the attic and went to click it, and it was like a gun.
It shot? Is she okay?
Well, she's dead now, but not because of that.
Gosh.
not because of that. No, I think it just like hurt her in like a minor way. I don't think it actually it was a tiny little thing that it shot out.
I didn't even realize that sounds James Bond-esque.
Oh, I know. So we have our genre. It's kind of perfect.
We got adventure, and the prompt is a lady finds that in her attic.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we can always do our classic, totally ditch it, through a series of wild turns. But yeah, I think a woman finding some sort of espionage, sabotage type device, Q, James Bond, gadget, maybe a gadget is a good word, in her attic.
I think what my mind immediately goes to is a very retired James Bond. Her husband is a very retired agent.
Okay.
And I, in my head, I picture them super old.
Okay.
Like they're like, he's like super, super old. He's like 80s, 90s or something like that. And he's called back. Just the idea, there's always that movie. They're like one last ride, but usually the guy's like, I don't know, like 40, but he's like 90 years old. And they're like, we need you. Your country
There are
needs
very
you.
few actors that can pull this off. So I feel like Clint Eastwood is probably the only one.
Yeah,
but he's not English though. He's not.
He
English.
doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be that old. But I think that leans into that. Obviously, is funny to me, and it doesn't have to be funny. But this can be an adventure movie. I think the wife finds this pen. It shoots a hole in the wall.
That's cool.
It might be funny if it shoots a hole in the wall, which triggers some door, and the door.
Oh yeah,
secret agents out, and then rotates.
And there's a Green Goblin costume.
And then there's. I'm a bit of a scientist myself.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a 007. Anyway,
that actually would I could see Willem Dafoe being
that would be cool. Okay,
retired.
so let's go with that. Let's go. Willem Dafoe is our guy, but
He's our guy.
she's our main character.
She's our main character. Okay, I think the story has to be it's adventure. I think it can be kind of a rom-com adventure. I don't know if you saw there was something called The Island or something with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock that came out a few years ago. That was kind of a comedy adventure situation.
Oh yes. I know what you're talking about.
So I'm feeling kind of that genre where it is the stakes are real. There's a real adventure, but you have some laughs along the way. And I think if Willem Dafoe is this retired agent that, and then it's similar to Night and Day also, that
Okay,
Tom Cruise movie with
Cameron
Cameron
Diaz.
Diaz gets roped into it, but maybe they're both a little older. Maybe she sets off some sort of beacon that alerts his arch nemesis.
Yeah, why would he have that just in his attic? He's just like, yeah, Doctor No, come and kill me.
But I like this. I like this. I like Willem Dafoe. It'd be cool if we could have a somewhat idea of the actress as well.
That's true.
It also could be.
It could be a daughter.
Could be funny.
It could be...
to change. Yeah, I'm thinking daughter. But that would change it from just the romantic interest.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe and his daughter, and then she's like, "You're an agent," and then he has to protect her, and she has to.
Now, how old is she? Fight. Is she like on her own? You know, maybe
she's 2 years old.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, having a 2-year-old myself, I can tell you this is not going to go very far.
No, I was thinking young adult.
Okay.
Well, if it's with Willem Dafoe, he's
60s.
Near 60.
Yeah,
so I think the daughter would be maybe mid-20s or near 30s, maybe.
Okay, so she's like could be married. She could be the background plot. I think would be why is she in the attic? Why is she messing around up there? Mom just died.
Okay.
She's up there getting stuff. You know, Dad has always been kind of aloof, and he's really not taking this very well. Mm-hmm. She was like the thing that grounded him in all of his adventures or whatever. But adventure, I think we could. I know Tommy Antonucci. You want to do the like reality bending stuff. I say we hit the gas. Like the whatever spy type thing. It's not just country to country kind of spy thing, but rather Men in Black.
I was going to say Men in Black, supernatural. What if it was more supernatural?
That's cool.
He had earthly weapons, kind of thing. So instead of the alien route, it's more. I never saw it, but R.I.P.D.
I saw it. It's a really good guilty pleasure movie.
Okay,
it's like the CGI is terrible, the acting is terrible, the writing is terrible, but like the concept is fun, and it's in Jeff Bridges' era where he just always wanted to do characters like this. I'm Rooster Cogburn. And he just whatever. Anyway. So I remember that movie, and it's like I said, guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So I do like her having a husband too. I think that's funny. He doesn't really go on the adventure. Mm-hmm. I think he's some sort of comic relief, either managing the kids, or he's always just like, your dad's a gentle soul. You have to be you got to be delicate with your dad. He's a gentle soul. And then meanwhile, Willem Dafoe's like
super violent,
kicking a ghost in the face upstairs or something.
I do like that he's like a retired Ghostbuster, but if we kind of took the Ghostbusters into more, for lack of a better, like R-rated territory, where we're just like it with like demonic type things. Ghostbusters are generally, they deal with that, I guess. But actually just recently watched the newest one, Afterlife, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Is that with Paul Rudd?
It's with Paul Rudd, yeah. I'm not the biggest Paul Rudd fan, but he did okay. And that story was pretty good. So Ghostbusters are such a lightning in a bottle thing. Like that same kind of concept, the remake of it or reboot or whatever from a couple of years ago just flopped hard. And it's just so perfectly encapsulates the 80s and those comics, those comedic actors, and just the concept itself. Like, how does it work with the protein packs and the trap and everything? It's so good.
Is it protein packs or proton packs?
Sorry, that's the Negroni. It's a proton pack. Or is it a photon pack? I don't know. It's a protein.
You can't cross the beams, though.
No,
that's
yes, exactly.
I remember.
And that's classic screenwriting where you set up the rules and then you break them at the end. Like you set up, you can't do this, and then they do it, whatever.
Yeah, and they all die.
Yeah, and then they
that would be funny.
The screen just goes white.
The entire movie they said don't do it, and then they did it and they died. I don't know why they did it.
They didn't learn anything, and then they were dead.
Okay, so we've got Willem Dafoe. Let's give him a name. He needs a name.
Okay. Let's see. A good Willem Dafoe name. He's got some
I pictured the son-in-law calling him Harold.
Harold, but that's like a classic kind of cliche old man. I like Drake. Like the rapper.
We can land on Drake. I'm not fully convinced.
An old man named Drake, that's kind of cool. Let's be honest, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but it just feels like, is that actually your name?
Yeah, that's true. Drake is also one of those names where it's like, it's so cool. You know, it's just it's not gonna not be cool. It's like your name's Dragon or something.
Yeah.
Oh, my name's Dragon. Yeah. I don't know. The names always kind of get me because I like to go a little weirder.
Well, placeholder, we can call him Drake.
Okay.
Because I think that would just be a point. That would be the joke. Is like, oh, like the rapper.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like the rapper.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that your Willem Dafoe?
It's hard. Oh, I could probably do a Willem Dafoe. Do you have a good Willem Dafoe?
I don't know. I got to think. I can hear him yelling in my head, but that doesn't sound like anything in particular, you know? Yeah. It's just noise in my head. But yeah, it is I'm something of a scientist myself. It has that's a little Katharine Hepburn though. Like, oh, I am something of a scientist myself. Like, oh no.
He's got that kind of higher raspy, something
toothy too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the rest of the episode, I was just trying to nail.
We end up just screaming at the end.
Okay. So Drake's wife passes away. The family comes to his house to help him out, and in the wake of things, his daughter's trying to comfort him. All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
And she's like, "Dad, you have to move on," you know? And he's like, "Your mother's not dead. She's been stolen." And he's like, "That's why I didn't bury her. Because her soul has to be reunited with her body. You know, she's just been in the morgue, frozen." And he's like, "If I can get her soul back in her body within 3 days, you know, she'll come back."
Okay. How does that? Because I feel like the pin was the inciting incident. That's what triggered everything. Which he can still talk about this afterwards.
Yeah, that's
maybe true. Maybe that's what, like, he doesn't seem that distraught over the loss, and that concerns the daughter. And let's name her
Shelly.
Blake.
Oh.
Blake
and Drake. Yeah, Blake. Give me a break.
Give me a break. Give me a break.
Give me a Drake. Give me a Blake. Whatever. Yeah. No, I said Shelly.
Shelly. Okay, Shelly. That's fine. The Blake family.
You'll give me I can't say give me a break.
No, they don't worry about their life.
That's fair. Name. That's fair.
Jake. What Gunner? That sounds like an action movie name.
Yeah, that is very much. It is an adventure movie, so they have to go somewhere. I feel like that's, they have to.
Yeah, they have to either go through a portal or they have to leave. Him and his daughter have to leave. And we're stuck in this house and we got to get out of it. So she's upset. He's not upset. She goes she's like, if you're not going to go through her stuff, I'm going to. She goes into the attic. She finds a pen, shoots a photon blaster through the wall with his pen, and it opens up all this high-tech computer detection stuff. He's like, oh. And he comes up and she's like, what's this, Dad? And he's like, what, the cardboard boxes? She's like, no, not the cardboard boxes. The computers and the guns. He's like, so I'm a bit of a scientist.
Yes. So you found my armory. You know, yeah.
And then he's like, so, okay. And he shuts the attic or whatever. And he's like, he opens up. He's like, I'm not what you think I am. She's like, you're not an accountant?
Yeah.
He's like, not quite.
Yeah. Not exactly.
Not exactly. And then he says the thing. He's like, your mother was taken. She's not dead. She's taken. I can get her back. I haven't done this stuff in a little while. Yeah, I do like the idea that he's not in his prime. It's maybe been a decade or something.
He's retired, you know.
He's like, someone from my past came to settle a score, and I'm not gonna let it stay settled. Mm-hmm. And basically, he's like suiting up. And she's like, Dad, you're not. Maybe there's something that she accidentally stumbles into this thing. Like he's going to go and teleport somewhere and do this.
Yeah, maybe she walks in on him about to do that, you know, or like she's up in the attic, reminiscing through whatever, and can like see through the floorboards or something, and sees him doing whatever in his room, about to jump, or whatever the thing is. I think the pen thing might be, if we can unhook ourselves from that and make it something else, then it can feel more consistent. Because I don't see this type of Ghostbuster type guy, like Navy SEAL Ghostbuster, having a pen gun. Maybe, I don't know, but
Maybe it's not maybe it's activates his whole thing, his stuff. Maybe it's more like a controller for his room.
oh, okay, that's true. Yeah. And it was like a retirement gift.
Yeah, and then it triggers that. And I think there's the initial thing of her not believing this, and she's goes down to talk to the husband, and the husband's kind of trying to calm her down and saying, "Hey, it's not really believing everything that's happening." He's also wrangling kids at the same time, so he's half listening to her. And she says, "Oh, I got to do. I feel like there needs to be some sort of hecticness that results in him." Or maybe that's the thing. Maybe there's a specific time that this portal opens that he can go after this thing.
After the funeral, or just like after the fight that they had? Like
after, just forget the fight. There's a certain time he needs to be there to open this portal and go through. And he's like doing stuff and he's setting stuff up. And then they're there and he doesn't really want them in the house. But they're like, "We're here to help." And then in just crossing, she discovers this stuff. Maybe she hits the pin and it opens the door, a secret door. And he's like, "Hey, you really can't be here." And then there's this argument. And then the time hits and the portal opens and sucks them both in.
That's cool.
Like he wasn't planning for her to be there. Like he's got all his stuff, and then it just like sucks her into this, I don't know, paranormal-esque world.
I got something that's a little, little world buildy, interesting. When we open up basically at the funeral, I would think. And we pick up kind of in media res. We see Shelly and her husband, and their twin boys or whatever. And they're like, both 5 years old. So it's just crazy town for them.
Yeah.
And the dad, Drake, he's like aloof, he doesn't want to talk about it kind of thing. But in his house, he has a piano. And he loves playing that piano. And it's like a brooding kind of thing. He's up there just like playing the most classical music, just like processing. And then the husband and Shelly are talking, and they're like talking over the piano or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that the piano, one, that Shelly is like a musical prodigy or genius of some kind. Not unearned, but she's like a music teacher. And she can like play things by ear. And so Drake plays this one tune late at night. Like she hears him playing at night, and she hears this tune, and then like a flash of light from his bedroom, and he's gone. Like in the morning they wake up and he's not there. And they're like, "Okay, what happened?" And there are some signs of him, his stuff is like messed up or whatever. And, his drawers are pulled open where he was trying to get to some device or gadget or something of his, but they file a police report or whatever. But as that's happening and the police are looking around, like she's up there and she starts playing the tune.
Yeah.
And that tune activates the thing, and she gets sucked in.
I like that. That's fun. That's so hyper specific, such a specific, not in a bad way. It's just her being able to play by ear is what allows this situation to happen. But you establish that she hears the tune and it makes sense. She hears that and she's just in her head, just trying to think. She's not thinking anything of it. She just plays it. Yeah. And it opens up some sort of portal, or maybe she gets teleported through the piano. That could be cool. Yeah. But all that being said, we've established this beginning. I like it. And I like the specificity of her being a prodigy. That could be a fun thing to come back to.
Oh yeah. Her husband's tone deaf later. So like you can establish it without actually it feeling like exposition. Like maybe they're singing mom's favorite song at her funeral, and like the dad isn't singing or whatever. And it's like, "Dad plays piano. I used to play with her all the time," And yeah, anyway, but she sits down to play. I do think that like a good character moment is because she wants to get in her dad's head. And so she starts playing what she heard him play last night. And then obviously that's what she's like, literally following his footsteps.
Yeah. I think we need to break into this weird paranormal world because
Well, we've been teasing it this whole time, but it's like, what is it?
It's like the normal world, but everyone's got 3 eyebrows.
Yeah, I was thinking something in that vein, right? Like, but what type of magic or supernatural element are we dealing with here? Is it a world they go into kind of an upside down, like Stranger Things, where the world is decayed and gross or whatever? Why would he be an agent? It had to be something that would require some sort of government agency to maintain.
I like the idea of it being in some ways like Stranger Things, but it's more of an inverted version of the world. Not to the point that it's inverted and everything's dead, but there's opposite versions of people. Maybe you see a very overly kind neighbor, and then there's that same guy, but he's a monster
Nazi
version.
Oh.
Or, yeah. But he's a monster version of himself, and maybe it would be funny if he's still kind of overly kind, but he's like also mean at the same time. But that kind of thing. I'm picturing when I was a kid. Did you ever watch Invader Zim?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the Halloween special where Dib has the portal in his head and he keeps teleporting to the inverted world?
I didn't watch it that much.
Okay. There was an episode where he's got this portal in his head that he keeps on flashing between these two worlds. And the one is a monster-esque version where there's all the same characters, but his dad's like this giant spider instead of his normal dad. And so there's like an equal version of everyone on the other side.
That's cool.
And I think for storytelling purpose, that makes things somewhat easier to just create parallels, and you can find humor or you can find tension.
Oh yeah, and it's all setups and payoffs. Like you set all of that up, who you're going to be running into in the real world, and then you see the opposite of that. So does that mean because the mom here is dead that she's alive there? Or we still need to iron out what that means.
I think so. I picture this other world is not a world of chaos. It's a world it's just an inverted monster-esque world, but there's some sort of order there because I think that's where Willem Dafoe or Drake would have worked with in the same way Men in Black worked alongside aliens and with aliens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's whatever he worked with and alongside, and there's bad people there and there's good people there. And I picture someone in the monster-esque government made this move and kidnapped his wife and brought her there.
Okay.
And if it could either be physically, literally, or it could be took her soul out or something. So her body's there, but she's not present. But
maybe people
Drake's
who don't
saying, "Hey, wait, I can restore her."
People who don't have the express pathway to get to this world, only their soul can go. Like if they get kind of forced into the world, their body is dead. So a lot of people who've been kidnapped over the years have just dropped dead, you know, when in reality they've been taken away. It's kind of interesting. The thing with the music that I like, that I can hear Willem talking about or Drake talking about, is that music is math, and math is eternal. There's no number 3 just floating somewhere in the universe. It exists outside of space-time. And so we can use math and music to connect us to different worlds.
Oh, that's kind of their unifying thing, the thing that draws them together. Let's make him, maybe he's a math teacher then, because I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he needs some sort of boring-ish job. No offense to a math teacher, but something that's not a monster fighter. Something that's not a monster fighter. Plus that, I think that's a nice tie-in if he does view the world with a high view of math, saying, oh, math explains everything. And then that also creates the initial conflict because there seems to be a difference where she's more artistic and musical and he's more calculated. And
he's more
mathematic.
Yes, he's colder. You know, he's more about love can be quantified is what he would say. And it can't be quantified. Blah 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 blah. That kind of
and
exchange.
then maybe we have some sort of Yeah, I think him being cold and calculating, and then later on in the late second act, he has his heart to heart with his daughter, saying, "Hey, I do love your mother, though. I
Yeah.
do care about. That's one thing I've
Well, that's
never
what's
been able
driving
to
him. Yeah.
quantify. That as much as they say it can be quantified, I can't quantify my love for her."
Yeah. Is he a professor maybe as opposed to like a middle school teacher? Or maybe a middle school teacher is funny.
He teaches second grade math.
Yeah. Well, in second grade, your teacher teaches you all the subjects, but in middle school is when you start having teachers that are specialized, right?
It's one of those things that I guess he still kind of technically works there, but if anything, it's more of a cover. But he is an actual. I think that makes sense that he's a professor at a college, air quotes professor. But his real job has always been this thing, and maybe in the last 10 years he's retired. And he's like, you know what? I'm actually gonna be the professor. I'm gonna not be hunting these monsters. So
I think can we put a little, let's talk about the monsters for a minute. I'm a big monster guy, if you can't tell, the kaijus and everything. These aren't kaijus. Okay. I'll restrain myself. These are normal size monsters, but I like the idea that they could either be the classic kind of universal monsters. So you have werewolves and vampires and all those types of guys. Or it can be like a very specific type where you have, or like you just kind of break the mold, and it's very much like Men in Black, but it's like, monsters like from folklore or whatever, they all exist and they all have their own little whatever, and we keep them tamped down. I feel like I've seen this type of movie a bunch. I mean, it's a little Hellboy in some ways.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make them specific monsters. I think steering away would be better, because I think if we lean it too much into established monsters such as vampires and werewolves, it does feel like movies that I've seen before.
That's true.
Where if they're just generic monsters, more like Beetlejuice, where they are just their own weird things.
Okay.
You get
I
the
get
vibe
what you're
I'm
saying.
down?
Yeah. That's very, very Tim Burton, obviously.
But not do it in a Tim Burton way. Do it in a more not like cartoony monster thing, but they look. I think that's interesting if they look kind of scary, gross, like the Stranger Thing monster, but they are intelligent and they communicate. That would actually be fun.
Is this like Monsters Inc. then? Where they're like, we use laughs to power our society.
Yeah, they're like, we needed your wife's laughter to power our city. Now I don't know. I'm mixed between it just being like a completely dangerous place that once you're there, it's danger all the way, or it being kind of a society of monsters where there are a lot of dangers, but it's also there's some order and there's systems in place. It's not just completely.
Then in that way, it can be like a parallel dimension where we just have, it's populated by these types of things. Mm-hmm. I like the idea that they're all bugs.
Oh, okay.
So they're all just, you got centipedes, you got ants, you got praying mantises. It's like, that adds a real, like, I can see them all being cool practical effects too, like puppety type thing. Mm-hmm. And, it's like the little grub kids. And he's like
the grubs, the twins have parallel versions that are two little grubs.
I don't know. I think I would disconnect it from being like a total 1-for-1 parallel dimension. It's just, this is the dimension below ours. So it's like, it's all the creepy things and crawly things. That way we don't have to abide by too much of the.
Oh, I've got an idea. Because I wanted to explore that at some point, both of them or the girl, I think both of them. I think there's a point where she has to catch up to Drake because he's a day ahead of her on whatever adventure he's on.
Yeah.
Or if he's just in the city, then that's not hard. He stumbles across her, but she's freaked out at first. But I love the idea that he reunites with his old partner.
Yeah.
His like old cop, if you
we
want to
used
call
to
him that
date.
partner. But yeah. No, not that kind of partner. But I want him to be a Hercules beetle.
Oh, that's cool. He's got a big horn.
Like with the big horn, basically like Heracross from Pokemon.
Yeah. I love bug type. Obviously, I would drag this thing into bug territory.
Yeah, but just Hercules beetle head, and then like just this very broad, muscular humanoid body.
Yeah.
So he's like built like a tank.
That's cool.
And
He's short though, you know, always has like a cup of coffee in his hands.
yeah, he's short, but he's really strong, and yeah, I think that would be cool. That's a fun character, and he's helping them, or he's like, hey, you look like, yeah, you look like my friend Drake.
Yeah.
She's like, why do you say that? He's like, you're the only other human here.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, yeah. It's like, you smell like my friend Drake.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, do you see this nose on my
Yeah.
head? I can smell.
This actually isn't my nose.
Drake a mile ago. It's not a nose. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. What is it? We're like in a New York of the bugs. Bug York.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why he sounds like that, but I love him now. He's my new favorite character.
Well, you got to name him.
I just want to name him Block.
Well, that's just the bug's name, you know. And Block's got kids, and he's like, yeah, they're a chip off the old block.
Oh, there. See, you brought it home. You brought it all the way home.
I did.
Good job.
But yeah, I like Block a lot. So she straight up plays the tune, and then like gets dumped into the police precinct of Bug. I'm calling it Bug York.
Okay, I like it. All right, Bug York. That we might already be onto a title here, man.
Bug York City. Yeah. Okay, so we're in Bug York City, and she plops down in like a grimy, dungy, nasty, like
Yep.
you know, back room basically.
Like dirt, like a nasty, dirty centipede guy wearing a giant trench coat.
And he's like,
is back there.
Hey, lady. You know, he's got all the arms and hair and everything, like on his like pincers or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, you want to buy a watch?
Yeah, and he's got like 50 watches on his arms.
He's like, do you want a red one? Do you want a blue one? You want a yellow one?
Yeah, no, and that could be like a guy in a jail cell, you know, like she has to walk through. I like the idea that the chute that he came down has kind of been decommissioned. So it's just like in the back room, but it literally is like an old garbage chute. Like he goes through. This is kind of perfect. She goes through a wormhole. She goes through a wormhole, and yeah, she ends up in the back of this police precinct, and she's quickly afraid and scared and running around or whatever. And Block grabs her and is like, he starts calling her name.
Yeah.
And this could be interesting. What if when the bugs cross over to our realm, they're like normal bugs?
There's a joke in Rick and Morty that's a little like that. There's where all the kaiju are actually really nice people. All the kaiju. Did you ever see?
I've seen the show, but not this.
There's just there's an episode about kaiju, but at the end you find out they're all like normal civilized people and they wear normal clothes, and they're like, we have to go warn the humans of this impending doom. And they're like, whenever people get through the portal, it destroys their clothes and it makes them really big. And so like whenever they try to, and it messes up their speech. And whenever they go through the portal, they're like, we have to keep trying. And they just become a monster and they're trying to warn in their language, but then all the humans just like nuke them. But I think that's funny if the bugs. Yeah, if they cross over, they're just bug-sized little bugs. And then they do their business and then they come back. And
Yeah, I love that. And there's even something to be said about like how the bugs get through. I'm trying to tie it together with the music thing. This is more of a world building episode than anything else because
this world is super cool. I was on the fence about the bugs when you said it. I was like, I don't know, instead of the monsters, but New Bug City really won me over.
Yeah.
No, it's not New Bug City. It's Bug
York.
York City. I like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun if she. Yeah, this is definitely just going to be a world building episode. She lands in the trash can or whatever, and she doesn't see any creatures immediately. She's thrown for a loop that she's teleported, and then she runs into like the first one, and she thinks it's this monster. Yeah, and then it's just a giant sentient bug. I think it's funny also in this world if worms are in charge of transportation, like they build wormholes.
Yeah, they literally dig the holes, and they
dig wormholes that let people travel throughout.
That's actually the note
city.
that I was going to say is that, no pun intended here, that crickets, they play music, right? They play with their legs. Yeah. That could be something that ties them together. So like maybe crickets and worms or whatever. Like worms don't make music, And maybe that they even nitpick that where they're like, I don't know why they're called wormholes when crickets are the ones who make them, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, we're getting nitpicky here, but
Yeah. She gets scared. We get Block. He calls her name, and
he's
she's
like, Shelly,
really
Shelly,
concerned.
hey.
Shelly, hey, come on.
He slaps her,
You got to snap out of it. You got to calm down, Shelly. Slaps her.
Yeah. But I like the idea where he's like, we've actually met before, and he came through the portal and like her dad brought him home or like, or maybe she found him in the backyard one day and she's like,
Yeah.
and you didn't kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. Flashback of her or her dad showing this big beetle or something, whatever. And because that's probably like a core memory. You don't see those beetles all the time. And then he brings her to the station or wherever, whatever their thing is. And maybe he's like, hey, your dad's going to love this. Like he gets a big kick out of it. He's like, just sit here. And then you see Block go and he's talking to Drake and Drake's like in his suit or whatever. And he's like all business. And then you see Block kind of gesture over to the window of the office and he runs over. He's like, what are you doing here? I like that.
I like that a lot. Yeah. And then cue whatever adventure. So we have the mom's soul, that we have that kind of aspect going on here that feels a little inconsistent with the Bug York City that we kind of have going on here.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of an equivalent.
Unless the mom was a bug, and that somehow, or maybe she was born from that universe. Like there are humans in that universe. And he brought her over.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if
less of the supernatural. Obviously, it's supernatural in some ways, but we're going into just like kind of science fiction at this point.
Yeah, part of me is going toward the direction of having some sort of venom from a bug that infects her or something like that.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's has her under a trance and he's trying to get the antidote, so maybe she's not stolen, but he needs to still rescue her.
Maybe it maybe it's a soul stealing bug. Like a death head's moth kind of thing. I know that's very Silence of the Lambs, but something to that effect, where we have like a skull on the bug and we see it, crawl into her mouth while she's sleeping and
gross.
Or in her ear even.
I like the idea of a moth being our main antagonist.
Me too.
Because I imagine like the moth, like he's this big guy. He's like 7 feet tall, and his wings are like a cape.
Oh, that's cool.
He wears and then when he actually needs to fly, they all like the cape unfurls, and he has these gigantic wings.
That's cool.
That seems cool.
And he's like hairy, like gets like spiny kind of fur.
He's kind of the Mothman a little bit.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so we've tied in the Mothman here, and
yeah, once an episode we always try to tie in the Mothman. Go back
Mothman
and listen.
Kaijus. No. The Mothman is very interesting. I actually, over in my hometown, we used to like freak each other out by driving out to this remote stretch of road, and we would drive and we would turn off our headlights while we were driving, and we would turn them back on, periodically. And we were just like, oh, the Mothman is out there. He's like, and because the real story is that he did attack a car. I think this is somewhere in Pennsylvania, maybe. I'm trying to remember where the exact story happened, but
I remember because I've listened to some podcasts in fiction that have the Mothman as a character, and I think one of the stories, I'm not super familiar, is that people saw him before this bridge collapsed, like a day or two.
Yeah.
So one of his powers in this fiction was he has foresight. He can see into the future, which I think is kind of cool. I don't want to copy this other fiction verbatim. I think a bad guy moth, and plus having that power is kind of more of a guide guru role. Like it'd be someone who helps them on their quest rather than I think there's just this big beefy moth. And he reminds
me of the virus in Osmosis Jones.
Yeah, with his big stinky finger.
Yeah, and he he got the heat thing going. That's kind of cool. But I really like the Mothman bad guy, and he's got his goons, and maybe he's just like a criminal played by Christopher Walken, or voiced by Christopher Walken. And he's just like this hulking moth, and he was locked up for a long time and got out.
Yeah, he's like a crime lord, kind of like a kingpin guy that got out recently. maybe he was put away by Drake, and then he got out or busted out or something, and he's back in kind of a position of power.
Yeah.
And somehow he sent some sort of magical soul stealing bug to steal his wife's soul as
like that.
payback.
Yeah.
And so now Willem Dafoe has to track him down, and Block is like, hey man, you can't just like barge in there. We don't have any proof that he did it.
Yeah.
I believe you that he probably did, but we don't have any proof. And two,
you don't have a badge anymore.
You don't have a badge anymore. I don't know if you can. I like the idea that Block just ages different.
Yeah,
Like
well, he's probably also the commissioner at this point, or the captain. You know,
He's
so
got a
he's
mustache.
like, you used to be, yeah, well, totally. But he's like, you know, I can't just let you walk around. You're just a citizen. You're not even actually a citizen of Bug York City. You know, your visa's up, buddy. I should, by law, deport you.
Well, I don't. This sounds like he's not his friend anymore.
Well, he's going to help him out. I'm just saying, you know, he's like, yeah.
Okay, so he's commissioner.
He's got his hands tied. You know, he's got his hands tied.
He's like what Michael Keaton and the other
Yes,
guys.
yes. Yeah, I like that a lot. Do they have guns in Bug York City?
My brain immediately went to just cans of Raid.
Yeah, that's true. You could have like, you know, gas guns of some kind, but you'd want it to like, most bugs can just defend themselves. Like most bugs just have, you know, pincers or stingers of some kind.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a permit for that?
Yeah, I think they could still have some sci-fi kind of photon-y kind of guns and stuff if they really wanted to. But anyway, we're getting caught up. Most of this, like you said, is going to be just world building.
Yeah, we'll just push forward. We got Mothman as our antagonist. He has Mama Shelly's soul. Shelly's in there now, and she's full mom mode. I like that, because then she's not this young whippersnappery type teenager or anything. It's like she can be really out of it. And that way they really have to work together, because he's older and maybe even has like some sort of ailment. Drake has like, oh, he broke his arm or whatever. Something.
Maybe he has some arthritis in his hands or something.
Something like, I like the idea of limiting him even more, because he's the brain and then she has to be the muscle to some degree.
That's kind of cool. What motivates her to join him? Because I think he would be reluctant to let her join his quest, because he would care about her safety.
Well, he wants to get her home, and we can talk through like how the wormholes work. But it's like she can just put her feet down and be like, I'm not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to help. I want to help mom. Like, look at you. You're not even at like 100%. And yeah. So is he an exterminator?
Maybe that's what they call that position. An
He's like a
exterminator,
Blade
someone
Runner.
who-
He's like a Blade Runner, but they're bugs. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And maybe there are a few other humans there, because I don't think it makes sense for him to be the only human that's ever come there.
No,
Maybe
but I
there's
like that
other
it's
ones.
it's sparsely populated. You know, she ends up at a coffee shop and ends up seeing maybe somebody that she knows. There's a lot to have to set up.
Yeah.
You know, to get it going, to make this stuff kind of pay off. But like if she wasn't married, that would work, because then you could have like, oh, a love interest of hers is actually in there. I'm also always looking for people to kill off. You know, it seems like the dad, Drake, is probably prime. You know, he saves the mom, but he ends up dying.
Yeah. But then the only problem I have with that is if the quest is to save the mom, it feels like just, I don't know. It just feels, then the mom's left by herself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like kind of like a hollow victory if they win.
Well, then Shelly dies.
But she's the protagonist. You can't kill the protagonist.
No, I know.
You're breaking the rules.
I am breaking the rules. I'm breaking the rules. No, I think we maybe have written ourselves into a corner, because I feel like the world is so interesting, and I could see several movies being made in Bug York City, and just that relationship of the exterminators, or whatever you want to call them, going down, and policing it, I guess.
I think it just also, I don't think we have to go out of left field. I know this. I know you always want to have the random sad story, or you want to have that weird twist,
Gotta have
but it
heft.
also,
It has to have heft.
I know, but wait, it's a cool world, man. And if they go on their quest, and I'm skipping a lot of the meat
Oh, I
in the
got it.
middle,
I got it.
they no, let me finish it. they just do the thing, and then he's in the 11th hour in trouble, and then she saves him with music somehow, and then they all come home and they're reunited.
Except for
It
Block.
doesn't, except for Block. Why does Block die?
Because it has to have heft.
I get that. Yeah, someone along the, yeah, Block shows up when you think he's writing Drake off and saying, "Hey, I can't help you," but then he does show up in the 11th hour, and he's like comes with. I imagine he has like 4 arms.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he has like bug guns in all of them. And he's like blasting everybody. He's like a Groot-esque character. He's just that scene in Guardians
Oh,
3
yeah.
where Groot has all the guns and he's just this big beefy boy just shooting everyone. And then Block.
Mothman kills Block, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be, man, I want to see Block and Mothman fight.
Yeah,
That
but
seems
Mothman's
like
gonna
that'd be
fight
so
dirty,
cool.
obviously.
Yeah.
He's gonna like
just big uppercut and fly. He flies him. He flies him and he does that. That's what he's like, I'm gonna break your shell, boy.
Oh,
And
no.
he keeps flying higher and then like slamming him to the ground, and then he'll fly and just keeps doing that until Block's no more.
Oh no, Block's just like gooey, busted open, and he's just Drake. I'm getting too old for this.
But I think something like that scene where he takes out he saves them and buys them time to like for them to actually win the day.
Yeah.
But in doing that, he has to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, again, that's good. That adds a level of heft. It's not just kind of sweet fun. I like the idea of the bug world is way more violent.
Yeah.
And just brutal than the human world. And that's why Drake never told his daughter about it. It's like, because it's so dangerous. Like keeping you in the human world is obviously for your own good. I don't know the origin story of this organization or whatever. Doesn't really matter. I think we do have a pretty good idea of what happens. Like second act, they end up fighting, they end up separating, or maybe she gets kidnapped by Mothman, or maybe Drake gets kidnapped. That makes more sense. Drake gets actually grabbed by Mothman, and maybe whatever Mothman is looking for. I mean, I guess it's revenge, so he would want to just kill Drake.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because I guess he just wants revenge, and that's probably why he wouldn't just kill Drake immediately. Because he says, I want you to suffer, because once so much time elapses, then her soul won't be able to return, or something like that. And then I do like the idea of her and Drake fight, and there's a scene of them separate, or he gets kidnapped, and then it's her just trying to figure it out, and her getting wisdom from other bugs. Maybe she makes a bug friend.
Oh yeah.
There, and she's at a bug coffee shop. There's like a bug bartender. That's just all very funny and charming, because she's so used to it at that point.
Yes.
And she's like, "Do you have anything that I can drink?" They're like, "We serve old fashions here. Like we're not barbarians. We have normal drinks here." Yeah,
I like that.
And then she gets that second wind to be. She's like, you know what, I can do that.
Yeah,
and
she cracks. She finds out, like, she either like connects the dots on something that she was supposed to learn, and that's actually what she goes and saddles up. She's not just like, oh, because she wouldn't just be like, man, I'm going to just die here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
or maybe what ends up happening is that she ends up back at the wormhole station, and Drake is about to drop her off or whatever. And I don't know, just that her choice of like looking at the wormhole or looking at like continuing the adventure.
Yeah.
But what is she supposed to, what is her arc? What is Shelly's arc?
Her arc, I think, is more rooted in her distance with her father.
Yeah.
Never being close to him, and then seeing who he actually is. And through that, actually bonding a little bit in ways she's never been able to before, because he always just had this veil in front of him that she couldn't penetrate. And I think as those little moments add up, it's like, oh, we kind of make a good team. And and then him also realizing that, saying like, "Oh wow, I didn't know you had it." Like she like beats up some bug that's trying to mug them or something.
Bug thug.
A bug thug that mugs.
Yeah.
So
This is a
I think
rhyming episode, bro.
a lot of
we've
things
hit the
rhyme
rhyming
with
things.
bugs.
But no, okay. And I imagine them on like a stakeout together. They're talking. They have like the deeper conversations. He gives her background. He meets an old flame of his who's actually a bug. I think that's kind of interesting. That's just another character that maybe she can team up with at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
I like
sort
that.
of
Maybe
gypsy beetle of some kind.
Yeah, she gives him, or she gives her the encouragement to go back after him or something.
Yeah.
Or gives her the, because I think that's what it comes down to. Not that she doesn't want to save him, but she doesn't feel confident that she can do it. She's like, I'm not my dad. I don't have these skills.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? I saw you fight those bugs and you can do this.
Yeah.
You remind me of him when he was younger.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
If we could tie the musical element back into it, that could be kind of interesting. Again, we're into the world building thing a little bit, but I think it would unlock some stuff where her skills come back into play. Like she uses her real world skills to help her do what her dad struggled to do even as an exterminator.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a way that she'd have some sort of weapon that is played musically that would help defeat the bug.
Even if it's just a sound gun, like you just shoot it and it just, whatever. That could get kind of annoying, but it shoots bursts of sound or whatever. Maybe the bugs are sensitive to sound.
Yeah, I think there needs to be something tying her piano playing back into this. And I think it could be some sort of machine that she realizes, hey, wait, with these buttons have different frequencies to them.
Yeah.
Or maybe
have you ever seen people do that like on YouTube where they take like a clip of some meme kind of TikTok-y sound or whatever, and it's people talking, but they're like, oh, that's an A note. That's an A sharp. Oh, and they can just like hear it, that she has that perfect pitch, and she's able to plug in whatever sequence into this machine. Because I think as well, the soul stealing bug, I mean, that maybe that is the Mothman bug, but it could also be just a henchman of his or some like kind of other assassin bug that he's employed.
I think maybe that bug is not intelligent. It is more of a beast that he controls, and maybe he controls it with some machine, and then she realizes, she's like, wait, I can hear, and like somehow with her brain, she's like, oh, it turns left when the machine makes that noise, and it turns that, and then she just through her perfect pitch is like, I can control that bug, and then she takes control of it, and maybe it steals the Mothman's soul.
Nice. Or kills him somehow.
Yeah. It flies right through.
No, I think the best ending for him would be that he gets sucked into the real world and they deal with him there. Oh,
that's cool. I like that.
And maybe it's her husband and he's just like, ugh.
Credits roll.
Yeah. I think digging into the lore, this feels like it could be a good book too. Digging into the lore of the Mothman, where he's like, in the humans universe, there's this poisonous light that just hypnotizes you and kills you. That's like moths are paralyzed by the light. But in the bug world, the light doesn't affect them that way. Yeah. So they have a hard time, the bugs that cross over, some of them don't cross over as well. And so maybe he has an axe to grind, and that's kind of his thing. But it's a little A Bug's Life, I guess. But like him dying in a bug zapper at the end, he like goes through and he's like, oh. And then it cuts to like a wide shot of just like, bzzz.
That's very Pixar.
It is very Pixar. Yeah. At least he's not a twist villain. That's a very Pixar thing nowadays. It's like, oh, the person that was right next to the hero the whole time,
they were the bad guy.
It's like, no, we just have a good bad guy. He's just evil and he hates humans, and maybe that's the thing, is like there are humans in this world that he does not want. And maybe there's bugs that follow. This is very Voldemort-y, but like doesn't want them to be in the bug world. And in the human world, there's more of us than there are of them.
Yep. No, I like it.
But we can.
I think it's fun, man.
Yeah, I think this is Bug York City is a very cool world. I think you could tell a lot of different stories within this, either
Yeah.
from that perspective of the police department there or street bugs,
So I was thinking for a title, it could either be Bug York City. I was going to say Bug York City Origins, but it's not Origins.
Yeah.
But the other one I thought, because, well, Defoe has to go back to Bug York.
Okay.
So those are a few that I'm throwing out, but I want to hear what you got.
formula. No, I like Bug York City. It's the destination, it's that kind of thing. So it's the name of the place that they go to. I'm not even entirely sold on the term Bug York City. I think you could find a different. I think it being New York is cool, but you even said New Bug City, and I kind of like that too.
It rolls off the tongue better, but I also Bug York is really funny to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Because York is so distinct. Like New Bug City sounds like the Pixar version, and Bug York City sounds like
Okay. Yeah.
the bug version of York.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Just Bug York. Bugging out in Bug York City.
Yeah, I think it could be Bug York City, but
And they get back home, to kind of land the plane. The whole family gets back home. They save Shelly's mom, and then they just sit outside and maybe play music together. I just like a summer night, just sitting there and maybe the whole family plays something together.
I like it. I like it, man.
All right, Tommy, we've reached the part of the episode where we do our segment Along the Lines. Can you give us a line from this movie? It can be from any character.
For my Along the Lines, I like the idea. I think the crux, I hit on it earlier, is Drake's line to Shelly saying, "I've always lived in a world of numbers and mathematics where everything was quantifiable, but the one thing I've never been able to quantify is the love I have for your mother."
That's great. I like that. I was thinking of one where in Bug York City, humans are the bugs.
Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to StoryFellasPodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.